If you want financial freedom, time freedom, and want to leave a legacy for generations to come, you probably have heard real estate investing is the place to do that. How do you get started? What do you have to do? When's the right time? If you are looking for those answers, you've come to the right place. My name is Kyle Stanley, and this is Fearless Flipping. My mission is to help you learn this business and conquer real estate investing. If you need a smile on your face today, you're going to get exactly that with our guest, Deb Cousins. She is an amazing person, a grandma, a mother. She's traveled the world. She's given back so much. And why and how? Because of real estate. This is an amazing story. She's an amazing person. You're going to get so much from this. Before we get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, and then on the video podcast on YouTube. Don't just subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can get updated whenever we have new content, so you can keep on learning, you can keep on sharing, and of course, always follow us on Fearless Flipping 316 on Instagram. Let's get to this awesome interview with one of my favorite people, Deb Cousins. I am so pleased to have Deb Cousins to my left here with me today. Deb, you are the first female on our show, so congratulations on that.
You.
I don't know what it is about this industry, but very male-driven, which can be a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But I want to start out where we always start out in this show, which is with my favorite question. What is your weirdest or most interesting real estate story?
Weirdest? Well, I've got lots of stories, Kyle.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one.
By the way, in it since 1996, so that's why she says she's got a lot of stories.
Yeah, lots of stories. I would say probably one of the best stories for real estate investing is I would look in the newspaper for foreclosures. Back when we still had newspapers, and you would have to scout it for foreclosures, because I like to buy foreclosed properties. And I saw something interesting in one of the listings, and it had the same property listed twice, same address, and it was listed twice. And I thought, this is kind of strange. So upon further investigation, we went to the bank, and we started talking to the bank because it was a small community bank that held this. It was a business note. So somebody had put up their house for collateral for a business, and it was being foreclosed on. So to make a long story short, we bought the note from the bank, and to our surprise, it had a second home attached to it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and there was no underlying mortgage on the first, and the second had a $3,500 note on the house. So we call it our twofer deal. And so we got two homes for the price of one.
Newspaper clipping 2-for-1 deal right there.
Exactly.
I like it. Well, congrats on that. All right, you've been doing this since 1996.
Yeah.
Your story, I am really excited to hear this. I'm excited for our listeners to hear this, and we're going to have a lot of backup questions on this, but can you just take us from the beginning here? And keep in mind, we've got an edit button, so.
That's good.
Yeah. So let's just hear it from the beginning here.
Well, Kyle, in my early working career, I started out as a registered dental assistant. And I would work back office and front office. For any of you that are in that field, you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's, you can work with the patients either way. The front office is more business-like. But I had this drive to do more. I'd wanted a little bit more freedom. I was starting to raise a family, and I'd always loved interior design or homes, or I found recently, not in my mom's things, a drawing that I had done of a floor plan.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm thinking, gosh, that started very young for me. So that started into more the design, color, that kind of thing, with opening a popular wallpaper and window covering store here in Fresno. And that was my first dive into the entrepreneurial stage. And we did great at model homes. I did model homes. I worked with contractors, a few of the larger contractors here in town, and it was very successful until the war broke out, and it was Desert Storm I believe that was one in the early 90s. And it business just crashed overnight. And it just so that told me a lot about business and what goes on and how the world economics play a part in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So that's when I decided to go back to school. So that's when I went back to college and got my degree, and something I'd always wanted to do, but finally decided it was time to do that. And before I finished, I started with that real estate thing again. And we had bought houses, of course, to live in and things like that. And some of those we bought creatively also. And we were able to buy a home in the down cycle, one of the down cycles also. But that's another story. But that drive to always be in real estate and looking. I was thinking I was going to go into teaching, and I kind of love teenagers, which most people think I'm a little bit crazy, but they're crazy. So I love that. And
you got more patience than me.
Yeah, I do with the big kids, but so that's when I decided to venture a little bit more into. We had purchased some property, acreage in the path of development, and things were happening with that. And it was then kind of that springboarded me to, I was taking lots of units I wanted to get done, but at the same time, I was out looking at property. And so that kind of, I did a deal, a flip, and that was probably my first flip. But
This was while you were in college?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I was also a wife and a mom to 3 kids, and going to school full time. So it was a time when it just kept eating at me. You know how sometimes you've got that gut level that just doesn't quit, that instinct. That's what it was. And I just so I literally drove around one day until I found a property I wanted, and I found one and was able to close. I think we closed in about 10 days. It was a cash deal. So that kind of kick-started me. And
that was 1996?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to ask this, but how old were you then?
Oh, Kyle.
I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Okay, tell me. You're going to date me here. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask?
I know
your
I'm not
age?
supposed to ask, but that's why I asked. With it being in the 90s and you having this change of, going back to school, and then essentially while in school now finding something else new, I think there's a lot of people here that are listening who are in their 30s like myself,
Yeah.
and thinking, well, I'm so far into my career, I'm so far into something, to start something new just sounds so intimidating. And here you were starting 2 new things with school
Yeah.
and real estate. So
Right.
that's why I'm asking
Yeah.
the question.
I cannot give you a definite age, but I would say late 30s.
Okay.
Late 30s.
Okay, perfect.
early
That's all
40s.
I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I am a grandma,
That's
and,
great.
And a great grandma.
Yeah, and
I just had a great granddaughter.
And I'm excited for you to share with us here in a little bit that you're back at it with real estate, doing this for your family. But we'll get in that in a second. So,
Okay.
where I'm hearing so far is, you started in your career young, and you knew that you wanted more. You just didn't know what it was. You became an entrepreneur. You realized that a lot of that was driven by the market, and a lot of people, I think, would have been deflated at that time. But you said, no, I'm gonna go start something new in school. And I guess the question for me is, while you're in school, what sparked your desire to want to go flip a home, especially in the 90s where not many people were doing that?
Well, that can lead us into another story here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was just something inside of me that I think I'm very visual. So being able to see, a home that maybe the colors are, all you need to do is change the colors, and you would have something marketable.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of that would I don't know what possessed me. My husband's super conservative. He's a math guy. He was terrified. He was like, "You're going to do what?" So it just was the I don't know.
Which is funny to me because I'm a math guy, and that's why I liked real estate. And so
yeah. And
well,
I'm more on the creative side,
yeah.
and that's why I like it, because I can see something that could be. And
Well, I think what you said there is so interesting for a lot of people because, we see these flipping shows, and especially like the content that we're putting out, you're seeing huge differences in these before and afters. But you just said something there that I think a lot of people need to understand is that there's this thing, I think some people call it wholetailing, where it's just it's making very minor adjustments, repainting the place, taking down a couple trees in the front yard, stuff that just gives it more appeal to make it, like what you said, more marketable. And that was where you started, is you just had that idea of, man, if I can just do a few things to just make this look a little bit better.
Cleaning up property, cleaning it up, the curb appeal is huge. That, because of course, and the other thing, and maybe being a woman, this plays into it, but who buys a home most of the time?
The woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kitchens and bathrooms sell, that's why.
Yep. Flowers and cute touches.
Yep.
It's and so I think I have that ability to see that and to execute it, and that's where the, like you say, hoteling or the wholesaling that's super popular right now, I see them going overboard, and it's not really necessary. Most people just want to clean, somewhat updated, even if it, like I said, even if it's just the colors. A lot of times you can take an old tile kitchen and make it look new with just a couple of touches. And
I like that.
Saves you a lot of dollars.
Simple and cost effective, and still
Very,
adds value.
very.
So getting back to your story here, you said you closed on that first property in 10 days. I think for our viewers, a lot of people would like to know, what was that experience like for that first property? And if you remember what you made on it, that's great. But
I do.
Okay,
I do.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, that one was it was a scary experience because it was our first, and like I said, my husband that always had what my kids entitled a real job. He would, help me with and when we first got started with the math part, now I don't have a problem with it, but of course, but back then it was like, what? And so he'd go, this is what you do, and so he'd just, click it out right away for me, and but over the years I've learned how to do that, and now have that as a second nature too, but. It was scary. He was nervous because he is conservative. I'm a little bit more. I'm a calculated risk taker. I'm not just going to risk for the sake of it. But I found this property, and it was bank owned, and which was one of my favorite ways to buy. Also, was they call it REO, and it was water damaged. And I always say the two most damaging things of real estate are fire and water. Those can be really damaging. But I went in and I took a look, again, had the basics. All I needed to do was clean. I remember cleaning stickers off of the doors where kids had just slapped stickers all over these doors, and just taking goof off. Works great for removing stuff, but doing that and remedying the damage. It was, of course, a homeowner that was unhappy and had broken the toilet and just let everything run. So we got it. Needed cleaning. It also had a pool, which I'm not fond of buying properties with pools because of issues with pools, but. Nevertheless, this one had a pool, and so we cleaned it up, did a little bit of landscaping, and I would say that's where I learned my very first lesson, was I overdid on my fix-up. It doesn't take long to figure it out, but our profit on that first one was only $8,000. And it was like, my husband goes, I thought we'd make more. I was like, Yeah, I said, but you
the
know
keyword
what?
there was profit.
Profit.
Yeah.
And I said, is it 8,000 more than you had last month? He goes, well, yeah. I says, okay, what's your problem? And so from there, that launched everything for us. And it was, I put too many flowers and did, too many little touches that how I would want to live, where I had to change my mindset is it's, kind of a phrase, close is good enough, where you do make it presentable, but you don't go overboard.
Hey, Fearless Flipping community, let's hear from one of our sponsors right now. Have you thought about becoming a real estate investor, but you have no money, or maybe you just don't feel like you have the right guidance, the right system, or maybe the right plan? Well, the Phenom Investor Blueprint course is your answer, developed by seven-figure earner Matt Garabedian and a good friend of mine. Matt uses his 10-plus years of real estate investing knowledge to teach you how to get involved with real estate investing without spending a dime. Matt's wholesaling techniques will work for any market at any time. So if you want to make 6 figures, 7 figures, or more, yeah, that's right, it's possible. It's time to invest in yourself. Check out the Phenom Investor Blueprint at fearlessflipping.com/phenom. Again, that's fearlessflipping.com/phenom. This is your first step to financial freedom. fearlessflipping.com/phenom.
Tell me, I really want to hear about the struggles and the way that you were able to overcome those struggles when those market cycles were changing.
When I first started, I really didn't know anything about market cycles. I didn't know we were in a down cycle. All I knew is that I did the numbers and doing what I wanted to do, where people were telling me that I couldn't do this. They said, you can't do this. You can't do what you want to do. I mean, from family to professionals in the field to lots of people were just very negative. And why do you want to do this? It was like, well, I would love the freedom of it for, raising my family, and I would love the income that it would bring, and again, back to my thrill of my hunt, I just love looking at property. It's just, I think it's in my DNA. I think with most of us, that's kind of how it is. But starting with these market cycles in the down, and then seeing what happens as it builds, we had, of course, the stock market crash in the early 2000s, the tech crash, which I didn't really pay much attention to because my real estate was just breezing right along. But I started seeing a rise, and in these market cycles, that's what you need to look out for is when you buy, when you sell, makes a huge difference in your profit, in what you're going to do with the property, how you're going to fix up the property, how you're going to market that property, who's going to buy that property. So we've been into this other big cycle, which I knew about the cycle and what was happening. So that's when I hit the top and decided to sell most of my holdings. And
this is currently, or when is this?
I started to see the market change and rise in about 2003.
Okay.
So 2003, 2004, we hit the top at 2005 here in the valley. And that was remarkable. But I also knew this is what it was doing. So down here, when I started seeing that slide go up, that's when I started jumping in again. I guess I like to jump in on things. I'm patient. I am patient, and a lot of guys just go in and full born. But I'm more into the profit and to the longevity, and more of a buy and hold. I like flipping, and that's how I I would buy in groups, and I would flip some, keep some for hold, and then move on to the next set. But if you watch the market, and that's what I'd advise people to do, is watch what's going on economically too, because that plays a huge part in your real estate investing career. I've studied economics, and I feel like I have another degree in that realm, in the money and the economics and how the world now plays into this market. It's not just, Fresno, California, or California, or the U.S. Before, when we had this crash, it was 4 main states. You had California, Nevada, Arizona, and Florida. That was the trigger. And you could see it. If you watch those markets and do your research, you could see that that was climbing and that these prices were just getting out of hand, unsustainable. We're kind of getting, I think we're at that point again.
Okay.
And I think we've already turned the top. We'll see. It's a different scenario this time, though. We've had this propping up from the government. We haven't finished from our last crash. It hasn't finished, and if you really do the statistics, it's only climbed about 10%. So you've got this inflated bubble again, and I love bubbles. If you're patient enough and you watch, you can make some really good deals. And so it's watching is what you need to do, and it does. It goes in a wave pattern, just like this. And if you can start purchasing as it rises, and that's what I did. I sold some more when it started rising in 12 again, and my long-time agent that I use that's retired, darn her, I love her to death, but she's moved over the coast and is living the great life. But she goes, "You called it again." And it was funny. When you start working with the agent and they get to know you, they want to do things a certain way. And I would say, no, this is the market now. This is what we're going to do. And she was great. She listened and she said, "Okay, let's do this." And it was the right call. I'm not 100% always right, but it is. You watch. So watch that market, and everything in life goes in cycles. Pay attention to the age demographics also, because people do things at predictable times in their life.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So much good stuff right there, and I'm wanting to just clarify something before I ask this next question. So from '96 to essentially about 2003, you were flipping some, you were holding on to some.
Holding mostly, yeah.
Okay, so and then you start to see this rise, and you say, "I see what's going on," and did you get rid of all of them?
No.
Okay,
no.
but you got rid of a majority.
The majority.
Okay.
About 90%. Yeah.
I'm assuming put a lot of money in your pocket because of
Yes,
that.
yes.
And then this crash happens.
Yes.
And 2012, you start to see that trend again, and you start buying some more things again. Is that right?
No.
Okay.
I sold because I saw it starting to rise again.
Oh, okay. So you started to sell.
Yes.
So what were you doing between that 2006 to 2012?
I was playing.
Yeah, okay, there you go. You were enjoying the money that you made.
Yeah.
Good.
That and also I was studying two things: studying the market and studying multifamily, and wanting to venture into that.
Okay.
So getting my education in that. I'm really pro-education as far as doing my research and studying. And it maybe it might take me a little bit longer, but I know what I know. When I can jump in or, move forward with an idea or a thought, then I know that I have the foundation underneath me that I need to go forward.
Okay. So what I want to point out to our listeners and viewers right now is that your strategy is one of capitalizing on time, seeing patterns, planning ahead, and not everyone is as smart as you.
I don't know about that.
Not everyone, B, has the time to look at these patterns. And then C, there's a lot of people out there that say in real estate, don't worry about the patterns if you're in it for the long run. It's kind of like, that the stock market thing too.
Yes,
Hey, don't
yes,
sell,
yes.
don't get freaked out, just ride it along. But so what I want everyone to listen to and hear right now from me is that you need to decide what you want to do. You need to decide if you're going to be that long-term person who is going to, no matter what the market's doing, still hold on to that same strategy or adjust your strategy slightly, or if you're going to do what Deb's doing, which is, hey, I see this pattern, I've got a gut feeling that this is going to happen, and she's been right both times. For me, I'm that, like what you said, your first flip, I start second guessing myself. I make all those wrong decisions, and then I realize I never even listened to my gut to begin with. So I've got to have that long term because that fits my personality better, and it keeps me a lot less anxious. But for you, this has worked out really well. So I just wanted to clarify that because I think there's so many different strategies in real estate.
What's your business model?
Yeah.
What business model are you willing to do as far as your personality plays into it, your time, all of that. There was many nights I was, up till midnight kind of strategizing. And, then you get up the next morning and you do your routine and you take care of your family. And for me, that's what worked for me. It was, and especially as a woman, my oldest daughter said when she got into college, of course, then she was home in and out during the day, and she said, Mom, I never know you worked.
That's awesome.
I said, really? I said, who do you think paid for your car?
Well, and that's because of the cash flow you were able to accumulate. And that's a perfect time to say, make sure to check into our second episode with Deb. We're going to be talking about cash flow and really excited to dive in for that. But what I want to just kind of wrap up here with this last couple questions is if I'm new, or actually I don't even have to be new. If I'm listening right now and I am just kind of stuck, like what should be my strategy right now? What would you suggest people be doing right now, whether they're new or not?
Stuck as in...
What strategy? Should they be waiting? Should they be buying? Should they be flipping, wholesaling? What would...
I think you can make money in any market. Yeah. It's learn those strategies. And back to what we said, what goes best with your personality? It's, I'm on a track for the next go around, like you said earlier, because of my family, and I see opportunity. But you can make money in any market. It's, there's the saying, you make your money when you buy.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's so true. So make sure your numbers are good. Make sure they're good. And what strategy? Are you just wanting, chunks of cash, like maybe you're wholesaling or you're flipping will bring? For me, I label that as a job, and not really what I want, but for somebody else, that may be the perfect strategy for them.
So whatever fits their personality, it doesn't necessarily matter the time of the market. You can make money wherever, wherever the market's
But learn
at.
those strategies. Learn those strategies, and the next thing is take action. Just don't sit and read and learn and not go out there and is it scary? Yeah, it's scary. But if that's really what you want to do, you can make it work.
Yep, and you gotta be fearless.
You gotta be fearless.
I've always got to find a way to throw that in. All right, so to wrap it up here, your strategy, you've told me you're going into multifamily.
Right.
Okay, talk to me about that a little bit.
Right. A couple years ago, well, like I said, I have studied it and been involved in some groups all across the nation and learned about multifamily, what goes into multifamily. My first question is who's managing the property, which I bring a lot of experience to the table for the team that I'm building to do that. But my kids came to me, my oldest and my youngest came to me a couple of years ago, and they wanted to get into real estate. And I said, the timing's not right. I mean, for our particular strategy is not right. I said, you go get experience. You guys get experience. And I said, and when you're ready and the market is ready for us, I will go back in. So that's where we're jumping in now again is they have done that. I'm really proud of them. And I have a daughter back east also that is kind of got the same knack I do with finding things. And so I had to say all three of the kids are wanting to jump in and do multifamily, and we're putting a team together. That's awesome. And so I'm really proud of them. They have done their homework with job experience, not on my dime. As a parent, you can probably relate, not you, but parents out there can relate. You have to teach your kids. You can't just hand them things. You've got to teach them. Yep. And so that's exactly what they've gotten, that experience, and really proud of them. So we're building our team and building, our looking or to,
Absolutely.
take that next leap.
And I'm going to say it because I know how humble you are. So Deb is really jumping back into all of this with multifamily and everything for her kids, if you didn't already hear that. So if she wanted to, she could go kick her feet up on the beach right now. But
I just did.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, I know you so well.
Yeah.
So in order to help out your kids, you're jumping back in now. I just want to give everyone else an opportunity to be a part of that mission to help you guys out, because obviously when it comes to multifamily, a lot of that means that there's going to be capital that needs to be raised. So if people are interested in jumping into those deals, maybe someone is very new to real estate and doesn't want to learn, but really trusts your expertise and knows where you're going and wants to be part of those deals, how can they connect with you?
They can go to our website, drpinvestmentproperties.com.
Perfect.
And we have a little email sign up form. I'm not going to spam you or send out a bunch of emails because I don't have time. But a way to connect and get to know you and tell me what you're interested in, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Okay, so that's DRP, which stands for Doable, Repeatable, Profitable. We're going to talk about that in the next episode.
Okay.
Investmentproperties.com, and then they can also reach you at your email, which is deb@drpinvestmentproperties.com. Anything else that you want to add before we wrap this thing up?
No, this has just been great fun, Kyle.
Good. Well, you've helped a lot of our community
I
to
hope so.
feel fearless.
I hope so, yeah. I'd love to, if they want to get in touch with me, I'd be more than willing to answer questions or help them out if they need anything.
Okay, well, it is our community's time to go out there and invest and dominate and conquer real estate investing. What did I tell you? She is such a joy. So make sure to go check out the show notes, which will also direct you to her website. That's fearlessflipping.com/Deb Cousins, DebCousins. And if you are not subscribed, make sure to subscribe both on YouTube and our Fearless Flipping podcast. Go check us out on Instagram, Fearless Flipping 316. It is your time to go out and conquer real estate investing. As always, we will see you next time.